Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to Her Thoughts here on Imam Hussein TV, where today we're discussing the very important topic of evil eye. My name is Sayyidah Mahdia, and I'm joined by my esteemed guests, Sisters Zahira and Sister Wesan. Sisters, Assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Walaikum assalam.
Sisters, thank you once again for joining me. It's a pleasure to be on set with you, and inshallah your Ramadan and your fasting is going well, and inshallah this month is a month full of abundant blessings for us all, inshallah. Ameen. Now, if we look at this topic of evil eye, Nazar, as some of us call it, this evil eye is something that we often talk about. We hear about it in our community. Some communities speak about it more than other communities. But do we actually really understand what evil eye is from an Islamic perspective? Do we actually understand what the Holy Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the evil eye? Do we have the understanding of what narrations and ahadith and the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam tell us about evil eye? For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran in Surah 68 verse 51 has said, "And those who disbelieve would almost smite you with their eyes when they hear the reminder, and then they say, surely he is mad." In this Quranic ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us about the existence of evil eye and the power that one's eye can have to do good and to do evil. And it is only now that scientists are actually realizing the power of this eye. And actually many scientists are now discovering that the eye itself has a type of magnetic field. And within this magnetic field, if we train it, or if those who want to do the evil eye train it to a level, then that magnetic field can be pointed to do harm, to create evil, to cause harm to the individual that eye is being focused on. And it's only now that scientists are actually understanding the power of this eye. Whereas actually in hadith and narrations, we know that even during the time of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he would actually make Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhim salam wear a type of ta'weez. They would wear a protection on them. And our beloved Prophet Muhammad, upon this ta'weez, he would blow and he would recite, "I place you in the refuge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from death, harmful animals, evil eye, and from the evil of the envious that causes the envy when he envies." So look, even from the time of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, we have these narrations that he would even make Hassanain alayhim salam wear the ta'weez and recite upon the ta'weez to protect them. And in Nahj al-Balagha it says, "Injury by the evil eye is true, and resorting to prayers to ward off the evil eye is also true." So let's open up today's topic of conversation of evil eye and look at the first question. What is actually evil eye? And what does Islam tell us about evil eye? And what do our narrations from the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam also teach us and tell us about the evil eye? What can we say about this, sisters?
So evil eye is, like you said, it's something that is talked about in not just our communities, but even other cultures. It's like a very open discussion to be had. You know, it's a very common idea that exists, and primarily it's, you know, the result of envy a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time it is.
Yeah.
I think the first thing to understand is that envy is a spiritual ail, right? It's a spiritual illness. And I know we've mentioned this in other episodes where we've talked about the fact that because of the society we live in, because of the generation we live in, if I cannot sense something, if it's not tangible, if I can't touch it, see it, feel it, whatever, it's a little bit wishy-washy if I start believing in something that I cannot see. But there is this whole other realm that unfortunately many of us forget to acknowledge, or we don't acknowledge it, and that is the spiritual realm. And things are always happening in the spiritual realm depending on what we're doing. There's an amazing book called Towards the Eternal, and it's talking more about the akhirah. But actually what it teaches us is that the akhirah, we learn about the Mi'raj and we learn about the Prophet's journey. He saw heaven and hell. Now, surely that's supposed to be after, the world ends and all of this. But actually, everything we're doing now has a direct, right now effect in this spiritual realm. It's like you're creating an avatar of yourself on the other side, right? In the afterlife. So hasad, envy, evil eye, all of this kind of falls into that realm. It's unseen, but then it has an impact in the physical realm. For example, you buy a nice car, 3 days later you crash it and, it's written off. That kind of thing. How much credit we give hasad and evil eye and all of this when things do go wrong in our life, that's a separate discussion, and I think there's a lot to be said. But just to cover kind of what we're talking about when we say evil eye, that's what I've got.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, it's a disease of the heart. It's that envy, it's that jealousy that we may have towards somebody else, and we see that their life, and now with social media, people put up so many pictures that we often think that their life is so rosy, and why don't we have that? And we'll discuss a little bit more about this as well in detail later. But in essence, it's a disease of the heart, that jealousy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when you, as a human being, your nafs, and we've spoken about this, your nafs tends to go towards that which is not always right for it. So jealousy is a disease of the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and He teaches us, that when you feel even the slightest bit of envy or jealousy, take that away from your mind straight away. Because if you don't, it will fester and fester, and it will grow and grow to the point where it becomes that disease. And you have the disease of jealousy, which is where you cannot be satisfied and happy with anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with. And we have the abundance of blessings where we, no matter how many times we say thank you, it's never going to be enough. But in essence, that evil eye stems from the jealousy that one has. But subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given us the means to protect ourselves as well. Like I spoke about the ta'weez that our beloved Prophet Muhammad would give to Hasanain alayhim as-salam. We have a beautiful narration where Asma bint Umays came to our beloved Prophet and she said, I fear that there is evil upon the sons of Ja'far. And she came to our Prophet and she said, is this true? Do we believe in this? And our beloved Prophet said, yes, we do believe in this. And he said the remedy for this is du'as. And our holy 8th Imam, Imam Ali Raza alayhi salam, has said that to protect yourself from this evil eye that exists, recite Surah Fatiha, recite Ayatul Kursi, recite Surah Ikhlas, Surah Nas, and Surah Falaq. And our holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he has also said to recite the last 3 verses of Surah Baqarah. And our beloved Prophet has also said that when you recite this, recite it often, but keep it on your body as well. So as a ta'weez, or nowadays we even get the small dua cards, which are so small you can just slot into your wallet. And actually this is what I do in my children's school bags. I put a small few dua cards with the different surahs and wrap it with a rubber band, and it's in their bag. So I know that they have a ta'weez on their body, they have the dua cards in their bag, they are safe, they are secure, they are protected. And then our 6th holy Imam also says that recite often this line where he says, say MashaAllah, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyul azim. There is no power greater than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is our creator and He's the most powerful over everything. And we have things like sadaqah, charity, which keep us protected from so many misfortunes. So subhanAllah, we have all of these ways to protect us. What other ways, and I'm going to come to you, Sister Wasan, which other ways do we have as a means of protection, as a means of safety, as almost like an armor around us? How do we protect ourselves from the external forces? And you mentioned this, Zahira, that even though we can't see it, there are all these forces around us which do affect us and our families and our lives as well. How do we keep ourselves safe?
So we are a form of energy. So you say about the magnetic field of this eye. So going back again to the spiritual realm, that we vibrate on a certain frequency as human beings. We are not, what we see physical is just a vibration. And so hate and jealousy, which is where evil eye comes from, that vibrates at a much lower frequency than, for example, love and joy. And then the ultimate peak is enlightenment. So being spiritually at peace. And that comes from qana'ah, contentment. So you said about, so there's two ways you could have evil eyes. So either you have jealousy on others or others have on you.
Yes.
So talking from self, if you are hating or jealous or envy on somebody, then you will vibrate on a lower frequency. And that causes you, like you said, it spirals out of control if you don't address it immediately.
Yeah.
And how do you address that? First and foremost, through things like salah. The suwar, so the mu'awwidat, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, continuously. Ayatul Kursi, I mean, I don't know if you guys, when you were young, but my mother used to always like usher us out the door, Ayatul Kursi, don't forget Ayatul Kursi. And not once, but 5 times.
Yes.
You know, because there's a
It's a
certain
long
level.
car ride.
Yeah, exactly. Always when you're driving as well. Because it has, each time you read it, a certain number of times, it has a certain level of protection.
Yes.
If you read it once, if I'm correct me,
you have one angel protecting
one
you.
angel. But if you read it 5 times, Allah will take over and protect you. So in a way, you can even change your destiny potentially as a result.
Yeah.
And I always discuss this with my children, and I say to them, Mama, the whole importance, don't just read it. I need them to understand why. Because you can be, and this could be good for the viewers as well, that you could be stepping out of your house and you get delayed, for example, for some reason. What do we tend to do? We're so attached to this dunya and ourselves and rushing, and we just think, oh, we're late. Oh, you know, your coat gets caught in the car door, or a child messes up or something. But you don't know Allah, because of you reading and reciting and doing your du'as in the morning, first thing in Fajr, Allah can change the fate of your day.
Absolutely.
He might have made somebody else delay that could have, God forbid, crashed into you. Whatever, we don't know. Maybe one day when we reach Allah, He'll say, oh, look at your day,
path,
how it's planned out.
Yeah.
Subhanallah. So those are in place for a reason. You know, the etiquettes really. I don't know really what more, well, there is. You mentioned social media actually, just this last point, but in addition to reading for yourself, limit your exposure. Not just social media, people like to do it even with the families. And I never really understood this. When I first got married, my husband used to always say this. I used to always say, like, okay, let's have a party, a child's birthday party or this party. No, eyes. No eyes, no eyes. And I used to be like, I want to.
Yeah.
Almost show off. It's not about showing off, but I want to show my
pride.
happy family, my, you know, but we are told, don't show off your health, your wealth, your happiness.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't need to announce every...
We're told don't speak of something until it is actually done. Because, and that was actually going to be my next point. How can we limit the amount of envy that falls upon us, and how is that power within our hands? But before I go to that point, the other point that you made about Ayatul Kursi. Now, Ayatul Kursi, yes, one time you recite it once, you have one angel, you recite it twice, you have 2 angels, you recite it 5 times. Some narrations say 3, some narrations say 5. You recite it 5 times, you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a whole protecting you. Now, Ayatul Kursi has numerous benefits. It's for protection, for health, for rizq, for sustenance, for memory, for any problem that you are going through in this life. Ayatul Kursi is that weapon that we have, that Allah has given us. And even, you know, we recite it after doing wudu. We recite it after every wajib namaz. We recite it before going to sleep. We recite it before leaving the house. We recite it when we enter the house. There are so many narrations and hadith that tell us when to recite Ayatul Kursi because it has such a benefit for us. And something else which we don't recite enough of because it's such a long dua is Joshna Kabir. And Joshna Kabir is my dua that I turn to when I have something big coming up. So for example, we may be traveling somewhere, or I may have to do a big talk somewhere. But Joshna Kabir is that armor that I protect myself with. And we know this was the dua that was given to our beloved Prophet Muhammad as an armor for himself. And I recite it on water and then give it to my family to drink. So for me, I know that they are protected to the best ability that I can protect them, and then the rest is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hands. But we have all these beautiful hadith, we have these, dua itself is a miracle and it's a cure. And like you said, our destiny or our fate may be heading a certain way, but because we recited Ayatul Kursi, or because we've taken out sadaqah, which can save us from numerous misfortunes, that has changed our path and that has protected us. And sometimes we still say, oh Allah, why has this happened to me? But we don't understand that something else bigger may have been going to happen to us, but the sadaqah or the du'as that we've recited have changed our course and made us pass with a different test, which is easier for us to handle. And you mentioned about social media and how, and this was going to be my next point of discussion, where we also have it within ourselves to try and protect ourselves. Yes, the envy is around us. People will feel jealous or envious. But within ourselves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that means also to protect ourselves. And we tend to, for example, as sisters, we are blessed to be speakers, to come on, to talk, to discuss. But our lives at home, they can remain private. Our children's lives, they can remain private. Where we've gone on holiday, that can remain private. So how else is it within us where we can actually protect ourselves so that the external forces of envy, it's limited, we reduce that?
I think, so in terms of practical, to-dos, you guys have mentioned quite a few of them, giving sadaqah, reciting these various things, reciting salawat. But I find it very interesting that a lot of these recitations that are prescribed, particularly to protect from evil eye, are things like, we always say mashallah. If someone compliments you, always like, say mashallah. Or you mentioned reciting mashallah, la quwwata illa billah, al-ali al-azim. There is no strength apart from Allah. Ayatul Kursi is all about the magnanimity of Allah, how, His sovereignty. And it's interesting that there's a running theme here of remembering that Allah is in control. We can do absolutely everything. You can wear all the rings in the world. You can recite 1 million salawat a day. But if something is meant to happen, Allah will make it happen. And even if you don't do any of these things, Allah doesn't want something to happen, it won't happen. And I think, if we talk about this on a community level, and sometimes the culture that's been created around evil eye and hasad, and this is happening in my life because she's jealous of me, my husband's arguing with me because his sister doesn't like ridiculous things like this. There's a line to be drawn, and I think there's a reason why it's these particular recitations that are recommended, is to remind us that it's not that person that's in control. It's not that jealous neighbor that's in control. It's not your, the other mum of the kid in your daughter's class that's in control of your life. It's Allah. You can do all the things that are prescribed, and they're amazing things to do even by themselves, even if you're not doing it with the intention of protecting yourself, right? These things are very powerful and beneficial on their own. But if after doing all these things there are still trials and tribulations, it's not the end of the world, We're told by Imam Hussein, when Allah loves a servant, he drowns him in tribulation.
Yes.
And this, I think, especially because of the social media age, and I know we keep going on about it in every single episode, but this is where we are. Because of the social media age, and because of us seeing everyone else's life through this tiny little Instagram window where everything looks so picture perfect and everyone's just going on holiday all the time, getting new gifts from their spouse all the time, kids getting into good schools, decent grades, and you don't see the illnesses, you don't see the financial struggle, you don't see the relationship issues, you don't see the mental health challenges, whatever people have got going on. Because we only have this image, we feel like when something bad does happen, we're like, oh no, something's not right. But actually, this is how life is. This is how we grow. And just between the three of us, I'm sure we can think of some trial, some tribulation that we've each been through. And you look back and you think, you know what? I'm so glad that happened because blah, blah, blah.
There's a blessing in that lesson. Yeah, for sure.
That's very true, actually. We all go through trials, and as mothers, you know, young mothers, raising children, there's been times where our children have not been well, or they've been in hospital, or we've had financial trials or trials with our spouses. We all go through different trials. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I will test you in different ways. I will test you with your wealth. I will test you with your health. I will test you with life. And these are the trials that a believer, all believers, will have to go through to test your faith, to test your iman. And you will have some days which are good and for you. And there are going to be some days which are against you because you've got a test. But we still say Alhamdulillah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the good times and in the times of tribulation and trials as well. Now, you touched upon this, Zahira, but just in the last few moments of the episode, I want to look at often, sometimes we find that the youth question, or even people of our generation may question that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful and all-knowing and has all the wisdom and the power, then how can evil exist? Surely, if Allah is all-powerful and all-knowing and He loves us, why would He let this injustice or this test or this trial happen to us? Now, from looking at narrations and looking at hadith, we know that yes, goodness and light exists in this world, but evil and darkness also exists, and shaitan also exists, and the realm of the evil eye and you know, black magic and all of this, the evil that is there exists, despite that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all-knowing and all-powerful. So it comes down to the fact that as humans, we are also given a nafs where we need to realize right from wrong. And we have free mind and free will, so that we can make the right decisions from the wrong decisions. And that's our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this last few moments of the episode, I just want to look at what do we say to those individuals where, or to our youth, and especially with everything that is going on around the world. People sometimes question, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowing this to happen when He is so just? Why are people suffering? Why are people having evil eye? Why are people losing their life? Why are people health being affected? Why, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all powerful? What do we say to our generation or the younger generation who question this?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like you said, has given us free will. So the free choice. And whatever evil and bad exists, it is purely out of people, individuals. Like I said, it's all within you. It's up to us as individuals, whatever choice we decide to make. So if you decide to hurt somebody, that's your choice. That's not God. Okay, that's you having a choice to either hurt somebody or not.
Yes.
Your choice to have hate on somebody, your choice to be jealous, or your choice to, like I mentioned, have qana'ah, have contentment in whatever you have, and say alhamdulillah with whatever you have, because comparison kills.
Yes.
That's all it is really. It's just, it's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I can remember a few months back when there was a lot going on in the Middle East, as we're all aware of. And a lot of people were questioning, like, where is God? Like, why is this happening?
Yes.
But Allah gives the biggest trials to the strongest people.
Yes.
That's their story. That's their trial. Everybody has their own story, and everybody has their own bala,
Yeah.
you know, their own struggles. We may live a life of luxury, but let's not let this all deceive you. You know, maybe we have real troubling mental issues in the West. You know, people might not have, people say that Africa, for example, is poor and cheap and, you know, what have you. Not at all. I've been to Africa and they are such content, happy people, you know, and the statistics show that depression is less in those countries than it is in the West.
Yeah.
So it is out of our own choice. And like I said before, when you choose to have hate or envy, sometimes you don't notice it. Sometimes you don't realize until you become more aware, i.e. life coaching and all that good stuff, personal development, you know, you're along with Islam, helps you to become more aware of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
But again, we feel so entitled that we're always pointing our finger and blaming everyone else, and we're playing the victim. But just look within yourself. You have the free choice to be able to, like you mentioned, you think a certain way. It's natural. Maybe sometimes you look at somebody, oh wow, my daughters always say this. They're going, bless them, through like changes in their skin and everything. They're like, when I look at a girl, I don't want to have hate on her. I don't want to be jealous, but I do admire. I think, oh, look at her skin, is so good. But I don't want to have the intention to, you know, have hasad, bad, evil eye.
Yeah.
So as long as you don't linger there, I say don't unpack your bags there. Just move on swiftly from that thought with du'as and what have you.
Absolutely.
Then, yeah, move on. But I think otherwise that's it. I think it's...
And like you said, you're always going to find somebody who you feel has something that you want. Or you gave the example of skin, and with teenagers, they always want to have the perfect skin, and you want to have this car and that person has that car. You know, there's always something that you want that the other person has. But I always say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I say, just how you've blessed them, bless me. And just how you've blessed me, bless them. So bless me and bless them as well. So that we don't get that sense of envy, as we are humans at the end of the day. And we have our, you know, we all have our battles and we all have our life to better ourselves, to become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He won't give us a hardship and a trial that we cannot take. He knows what trial that we can take. He won't burden a soul more than what it can take. And even with that trial comes ease. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. With that trial will come ease. So He will test you, but with hardship there is ease. And inshallah, we pray that this month is a month that is full of abundant blessings for us. And it's a month where we self-reflect. It's a month where we try and grow as human beings, as individuals. We fight whatever inner battles we are having, and we all have our inner demons that we need to keep a check on. And this is a month where we know that shaitan is in chains. So, and we often hear youth or children questioning and say that, how can we, if shaitan is in chains, how is it so that we are still doing these acts which are not permissible, even in the month of Ramadan, if shaitan is in chains? So it draws the question that, is it a learned effect? Have we as individuals learned that effect so it becomes instilled within us? Is this the norm now, that it is who we are, our nafs is who we are? So even though shaitan is in chains in this holy month and he's locked away and the doors of Jannah and mercy and Rahmah are open, why are we still fighting our inner battles? So the question arises then, is that within ourselves? Have we already learnt this? And now it's a time where we need to realize that I need to reform myself. And one of the biggest reforms that we can have is that jealousy that we have, that envy that we have, and that will help to limit the amount of, for example, hasad that we may have upon others, but also protecting ourselves, learning that we also have the ability, and it's within us as well. We have the du'as, but also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to be vigilant and be mindful and be careful with what you tell to the outer world. Don't tell everyone your secrets, and we have hadith that tell us as well. Don't trust everyone with your secrets, and don't tell everyone what you are doing until it is actually done and the task is complete. Thank you, dear sisters, for joining me. It's been a pleasure to be on set with you, and it's been a fruitful discussion, and there's so much that I can take from this topic as well. So inshallah, we grow as individuals and we grow as a community as well, inshallah. And inshallah, the rest of this month is full of blessings for us, and inshallah, the rest of the fasting days are easy for us as well, inshallah. Thank you, dear viewers at home, for joining us as well. We pray for the shifa of all the marid around the world, and we pray for the eternal safety and quick reappearance of our beloved Imam Zamana, alayhi salam. Until next time, dear viewers, thank you for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.